If your core training needs a little bit of spice, this video is for you. If you want abs that not only look good, but can actually help you move decently, I got you. So this workout is 4 exercises done as 2 paired sets. So it's very quick and simple, but it hits all of the prime movers around the spine from various different angles. I'll get right into the exercises and explain the rationale behind them, and then we'll talk sets, reps, programming, and progression at the end. Exercise number 1 is the Zercher deadlift. That's right, you heard me correctly. Not the crunch, not the sit-up, not the plank, the Zercher deadlift. Why? We're moving the spine into deep flexion under load and then extending a decent amount also under load. I find this one to have a less extreme range of motion than the Jefferson curl and thus slightly more beginner friendly, and it can be loaded heavier. The beauty of this exercise is that for most of you, it will feel mostly like a low back mobility exercise when you first try it. You should start as light as possible, lighter than you think, and increase gradually over several months of pain-free progress. Be humble and never tolerate pain. When you first start this exercise, I recommend picking up the barbell out of the rack and doing these from the top down, gradually allowing your body to get deeper over time. During your first session, you'll likely be able to progress a fair bit in depth, but it may take you several weeks or even months to reach full depth. Don't rush it. It might be frustrating, but this is exactly the tissue adaptation that makes this an excellent core exercise. Putting in the time to be able to bend over fully, round your back, and then hoist your body weight up in the crook of your elbows will guarantee that your spinal erectors, glutes, and even scapula stabilizers are beyond solid for the challenges of everyday life and for most sports. Your ability to maintain posterior pelvic tilt will never be the same. So that's actually the one technique tip I would give here. I like to exaggerate the posterior pelvic tilt on the eccentric, the negative portion of this movement. It just feels really solid for me. On the concentric, I just try to be smooth and fluid and just feel full body strong. The KH Movement YouTube channel has an awesome tutorial on this exercise. There are a wide range of valid techniques for this, so take some time to experiment with it and find a way that feels comfortable for you. Exercise number 1.5 is clicking that like button so other people like you can find this video. Thank you very much. Once you reach that level of around your body weight, this exercise starts to take on a whole new dimension. As a heavy compound lift, it has many of the same benefits as squats and deadlifts, but in a unique loading pattern. It's also one of the best glute exercises known to man. You can load it pretty heavy like a hip thrust, but instead of like 0 range of motion, as with the hip thrust, it works almost the entire range of motion of the glutes. This one is highly slept on, and it's also nearly the exact opposite motion of our next exercise, the hanging knee raise. In my opinion, this is the GOAT exercise for a six-pack. I talked about this a few years back in my How I Got Abs video, and I haven't changed my mind since. I'm much less lean than I was back then, but continuing to progress this has helped grow my abs to keep pace with my increased body fat. It's large range of motion, endlessly loadable, and because it's hanging, it stretches the spine vertically instead of compressing it. I've had a bit of trouble with inguinal hernias when I try sit-ups, but these have never given me any trouble. So if you struggle with inguinal hernias, maybe give these a shot. I like to load these with an adjustable dumbbell, but any standard gym dumbbell should work. Some might be more comfy between your thighs than others. A technique tip here is to relax at the bottom of each rep and reset the posterior pelvic tilt as you begin the concentric. This is also an exercise where partial reps after technical failure can be really powerful, and isometric holds also feel really good. As a bonus on this exercise, you'll get a bit of grip work and decent shoulder and lat stimulation once you get strong enough to be adding more than 20% of your body weight. If you're not used to doing a lot of hanging, it's worth experimenting with different grips and shoulder activation to avoid shoulder pain. I personally like to supinate my grip with these as it gets heavy. Pronation sometimes feels uncomfortable on my shoulders, and it encourages me to lean back and move the load away from my abs and onto my lats. You can also progress these by extending your knees. It makes it harder, but it does shift the challenge mostly to your hip flexors, which are kind of on your legs and not so much part of your core. That's still a great option, but if you're specifically trying to work your core, that's not how I like to do them. Exercise 3 is oblique side bends. Here we're doing lateral flexion and extension, but loaded decently heavy. The choice of implement is going to be important here. You can do these with a standard barbell, but the grip can quickly become limiting, especially if your barbell has no knurling in the middle. I like to do these on my little hammer bar as it's narrow enough that there's not a grip limitation, but it's wide enough that the plates don't hit my legs. Dumbbells can work too, but oftentimes the fat bit will rub against your legs and be a bit uncomfortable. Emphasizing the isometric contraction at both the top and the bottom of these can help, I find. You'll weirdly feel these a lot in your lats. I would get some cramps in the lats when I started these, but not anymore. Exercise 4 is the dumbbell croc row. This is like the king of ego lift rows or cheat rows. I saw Eric Bugenhagen doing these and it really gassed me up. And after trying them for a few sessions, I realized that they're actually a decent core exercise. They allow me to put a good amount of force and speed from the floor through my hips and into my entire back, resulting in somewhat of like a Russian twist-like motion, except with a bit more spinal extension rather than the spinal flexion you'd find in the Russian twist. Done right, these will both light up your whole trunk, and we're talking erectors, traps, and obliques, and will also cook your lats and triceps, and maybe even your grip and biceps as well, but it kind of depends on your relative strength. With these, we want to try to use our whole body because that's how your core actually gets used in real life, and only if we use our whole body will we get to a heavy enough weight to really challenge the core, not just the lats and arms. So when I'm using less than a third of my body weight, these just feel like an arm and back exercise, like standard rows. But between 1/3 and 1/2 of my body weight, it really starts to take on a nice core stability dimension. So though the range of motion doesn't look extremely big, I really am trying to initiate the pull with my legs, rotate through the core, and then finish by contracting the lats. So let's quickly review what we've done here. We've worked spinal flexion and extension through a large range of motion. We've worked lateral flexion through a full range of motion, and extension and rotation through a decent but pretty explosive range of motion. Every one of these exercises has excellent loadability to progress for years, meaning that you can actually build up substantial strength and size that will change you. The Zerchers and the croc rows have us producing force from the feet through our core into our arms at loads comparable to compound lifts because, in fact, they are compound lifts. The knee raises and side bends are more like isolations and both drive force from the hands through the abs. And rather crucially, you can just do these for sets and reps. You don't have to mess around with boring things like plank holds or counting out 30+ repetitions of crunches and sit-ups. The Zercher and the knee raise are a great opportunity to work from anterior pelvic tilt to posterior pelvic tilt, a hugely underrated posture cue for athletic performance and the actual ability to utilize core stability in real life. Now let's talk programming. Like any exercise, any amount of sets and reps that works in other programs can work here, provided you adjust the load appropriately. I'd say 3 sets of 8 to 12 reps is a great place to start. For the first session, leave 2 to 3 reps in reserve on your last set, gradually increasing the intensity over several sessions to 0 to 1 rep in reserve, aka going to failure. Notable exception on this is with the Zercher deadlift. Leave several reps in reserve and progress these very slowly over months to allow your spine time to adapt. It can be an amazing core strength developer, but only if you give it the respect and time it deserves. Don't go to failure unless you have at least 6 months of pain-free experience with this lift, and even then I'd question why you need to. I don't take this to failure and I still get reliable DOMs and continue to make progress week on week. Take your time on this one. This can be done 1 to 2 times a week as a standalone workout. Or you can program this around the rest of your full body lifting program, plugging in the exercises wherever they fit. For instance, currently I do Zercher deadlift on Thursdays as the first exercise on my leg day. It's an excellent glute and hamstring builder once you get over that initial back adaptation phase. I superset these with the hanging knee raises. Then the side bends I pair with the Zercher squats on a different leg day, and the croc rows I actually do on an upper body day after pull-ups as a second pull. As for progression, take a few weeks to just add repetitions until you feel confident with your technique, at which point you should start progressing the weight, slowly and steadily over time. If you steadily progress these for at least 3 months, I'm very confident you'll see nice results. I hope you have fun giving these exercises a shot. Drop any questions you have about these in the comments and I'll be happy to get back to you. Thanks so much for watching and have an excellent day.